Hey guys, and welcome to Ion Radio. I'm Ken.
And I'm John.
And we're coming to you live. Figured we'd chat with you. This is kind of a celebration of you guys. Thank you very much for 1,000 of you hitting the subscribe button. So we're going to be doing a little bit of painting. We'll show you some of the things that we're working on and give you guys also an opportunity to kind of talk to us and ask us anything. This is kind of an AMA of sorts.
Yeah.
Ask me anything.
John, it's kind of last minute, so we don't have anything specifically planned. So what we do have, though, is we have some models to paint. I have a bunch of the new Armada fighters that I'm working on and some BattleTech stuff. And what do you have today, Ken?
So I've got a bunch of the Armada fighters sitting in front of me, a few BattleTech items, and depending on how the chat is going and what you guys say to us and whatnot, maybe we will make an attempt to do the Radiant 7 on one of my consolers.
I'm not brave enough to do that on live stream. So one of the things that I have done first is I've primed all my stuff and actually made a painting video and then realized that it wasn't on the screen because I'm terrible at holding things on the screen when doing it. So I'm going to go over some of the things that I've already thought I've told people. And one of the things that I've discovered that makes it really easy to paint Armada fighters is plastic cheap Q-tips.
Yeah.
So let me just show you guys. So I have a fighter on a Q-tip, and then you can prime it and you can paint it, do everything. I'm going to switch over to the focus. And then you can hold it and you can paint the details. So this is one of the tri-fighters and it doesn't want to focus.
Of course not, because that would work too easily on a live stream.
There we go. So you can see that it's just a plastic Q-tip, and you just stick the fighter onto it. So I have a whole bunch of them lined up, ready to go.
I don't, because, why not? Hey, we've got one question. So Scott Jones has joined us. Thank you, Scott, for joining us today. You are going to ask a few questions. So which ships are going to change the meta the most? I'm assuming we're talking Armada. John, what do you think?
Munificent. That ship is super good. Even though it only goes speed 2, the almost complete reliance on red dice for flak, for salvo, for side arc, and then the front arc having only the 2 blue dice, you can just put LTT on it and you're good to go. You could run that ship with just LTT with either of the commanders and it doesn't change how well that ship goes. If you run it with Kraken, then you actually get more dice control than you already do.
I was really surprised in one of the games that we played how with Kraken you were literally able to get tons of it was almost, you needed a hit, you got the hit. That surprised me a little bit. Wasn't really expecting that out of the gate. I think the consular ships are going to be something that if you have in bulk might have an effect on the game, but I actually think the hard cells are going to play a bigger role because I was surprised at how beefy those suckers are. Even from the sides, I think they only have one shield on the sides.
Yes, they're very weak on the sides. But they have a redirect, and they have a brace, and they have, what is their other one? Is it a contain?
Man, I don't remember off the top of my head.
Super professional stream, I'm on my phone.
Yeah, that's okay. We're working through it. I'll let you look at that. Let's see. Scott has a second question. So, Scott, thank you for your second question.
It's an evade. It's even better.
Which fighter is going to change the most with the Clone Wars ships? Which fighter is going to change the most?
So, I think that with the Clone Wars ships, it's not actually going to be fighters that are going to change per se, or the Clone Wars ships. That's not what's going to change the fighter game. The change to Intel is what's going to change the fighter game because that reworks the entire Rebel and Imperial lists, and then because you can't just bypass fighters. You could bring just TIE fighters and it just slows someone down. You can just throw a TIE fighter out, lock some squadrons down, let it die. So you're going to see very light to medium fighter screens come back because they're currently non-existent. because if you don't completely come with a full fighter squadron list, then you're not playing fighter squadrons because they're going to beat you every single time. That's what I think is going to change.
I'm going to agree with you on that, specifically with the intel. What I noticed, take a look at our last campaign, and you were able to really leverage Dengar and Jendon and Merrick. No, it was Dengar was with the TIE Fighter squads, right?
Yes.
So, intel essentially avoided my X-Wings and everything else that I wanted to use to defend my ships. So I agree. I think that's a bigger change. And then let's even include evade with that as well.
Yes.
Because if you take a look at, again, going back to the campaign games, drastic changes. Raiders are going to become infinitely more useful. We've seen with, I think, the consular ships, or was it the hard cells? Probably the consulars, where, in our first Clone Wars battle, where it just took forever to take down that consular. Whereas previous to the 1.5 change, if you're looking at a CR90 as an example, you would have eaten that alive in 2 shots.
Yes. So I think where the fighter game is going to actually go is you're going to have smaller anti-squadron fighter superiority lists that are going to be there to slow down fighters, compared to what we have right now, which is just massive bombing lists. Like, I played once, it was like 10 Y-Wings or something stupid, and I had intel, so I could just bypass their fighter screen and just bomb, and I'm going to kill the carriers, and you're not going to be able to kill 10 Y-Wings fast enough to do that. I bring like 2 escorts, and then Nora, I get at least 1-2 turns in that I can just bomb things out. That's not going to be there anymore, so you're going to see people that, like me, I'm going to probably just bring no bombers and just fighter superiority and just win the fighter game, and then just let my ships handle the rest.
It doesn't really change much from how you usually play, John.
But there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
I've been... Secret's out. I play tested the Clone Wars and the rules stuff, so if you look back, I know what has been going on. Ken hasn't, so if you look back at our play things, you can start seeing changes in my list. I don't really run aces all that much, so that change didn't really affect me with only having 4 aces. And I like generic like TIE Interceptor, so when you see my Sloan list, I always took a lot of flack because people are like, you should just run aces, and I'm like, maybe I should keep practicing what I'm doing.
What's really funny is, because you guys, if you haven't figured out by now, John and I spend quite a bit of time together, especially doing work on the channel, and then a little bit outside of that as well. I had no clue. And I figured something was up because John's lists changed a little bit, but I just was thinking maybe he wanted to try something new, which is really not outside of the norm for you.
No.
And then when I finally got one of the, I forget which one was spoiled, but it came out ahead of time, and I'm looking at the list, and I'm like, I know that guy. So I went to John, asked him about it. He said, yeah, maybe I did that because, you can see it right there in the credits. So that was kind of a surprise to me. So, yeah, John is able to keep that stuff to himself.
Secret.
Yes. So, Skull, yes, we are live. Thank you for joining us. So the thing was, which fighter is going to change the most with the Clone Wars ships, but you wanted to say change the meta. Good God, you can't type. I can't read either, Scott, so don't feel bad here. So let's see.
Is he asking which Clone Wars fighter I think is going to be the most influential?
Change the meta, I meant to. Okay. Which ships are going to change the meta the most? Yeah. Scott, I'm going to let you retype that question because it's in like 5 different spots now. But we'll get back to you. Hopefully we've answered some of that.
I'm going to jump to what I'm working on right now. So I'm working on an arc right now. And I'm going to paint it white first. So I have it primed in white. And then just recently, I've started doing this white paint. I read it somewhere or saw it on the internet somewhere. That's usually how I get most of my painting information. But to get a really good, nice white, you use like one of those tubes of acrylic, like titanium white, like your Bob Ross, like the really actual paint tubes and like the metal toothpaste things. And it's really thick. It's like toothpaste. Terrible to paint with for modeling. But what you do is you take like a white ink and you thin it down with the white ink. So you have the great white paint plus this white ink, so it's nice and smooth. And then I just mix up a little bottle of it, and it's really nice. I was working on a Comstar Wolverine. I'll show it here. And you can see this, the white just looks really good on it. This is also the first time I tried doing more of like an ink line. So I primed it white, and then I gloss sprayed it with a gloss, and then I washed it heavy. And surprisingly, most of the wash went into just the recesses. And then I'm just going back with this white that's very thin, but one coat of it just covers, and it gets like perfectly white. And I just have some touch-up to do now with it. I'm pretty happy with the way it looks. So I'm using that on my arcs to get it nice and white, and then I'm just going to add on some detail red if it ever would zoom. Jeez, okay.
What's funny, guys, is this worked perfectly well in testing earlier today, and of course now it's not going to do what we want it to do.
There we go. So also, I just discovered, because right before we were doing here, I was Googling images to come up with where to paint things. And Google really just wants to recommend Lego sets for imaging, which is really frustrating because I don't need a Lego set. I need the actual things.
I was going to put those Jared for something to be there.
So thankfully Ken had one of the Rebel arcs, which gives me kind of an idea where I'm going to put the red paint. So I'm going to go with that. And in one of the art pictures, the Torrents have this nice yellow cockpit. So I think I'm going to make my entire generic Galactic Republic cockpits yellow. So I'm going to go with a red scheme, some gray and black highlights, and then yellow cockpits for it. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to paint one up before I start assembly lining it just to see how it goes.
So I'm going to interrupt our stream here and throw in a question from Randall Burt. Thank you again for joining the stream. He wants to know if we have any updates on our Alpha Strike campaign. Yes. It is. We're still filming it, so we're not done. The first one is complete, and I think we are probably planning between Christmas and New Year's to get the next episode put together, maybe?
Yes. So with the campaigns take a lot of time, and if you follow us, we collaborate a lot with the Death From Above Wargaming guys. And with the clans, it's like this very difficult balancing point of how much theme from the lore do you want to take versus actually the campaign. And it was a really difficult balancing point of how do we do that, because
so we had a couple ideas that
the clans either are way too powerful or they just get beat. So it was a hard balance between it.
But we think we figured something out that'll work, and we're excited to show that to you. I believe it is next Tuesday, the Tuesday right before Christmas. We are going to be releasing an Alpha Strike video, which it's not part of the campaign.
Well,
this one isn't. This is the tank one.
Yes, but the tank one led to the next one, which then leads to the campaign.
That's true. So
we kind of have a storyline that's thrown together.
Yeah. So that's coming out on Tuesday. I'm actually putting the finishing wraps on that. I was working on that a little bit yesterday. Today we're doing the stream, so by the end of the weekend that should be completed. But that will be, there's a teaser image up on our Discord, but just so you guys know that are interested on the BattleTech and Alpha Strike side, yes, that is in process. We've got 26 tanks you had? 28 tanks? How many tanks?
Not that many. I have a lot. I think it's 18 tanks.
Yeah, so it's 18 tanks or something akin to that against one lance of...
Star.
Sorry.
This is why he loses the clans. Like he's like, oh, we're going to call it a Mad Cat. I'm like, you're Jade Falcon. Like, stop calling it a Mad Cat.
So
it's a Timberwolf.
We've got that put together, and then that's done. We have the second part of the precursor to our campaign already filmed. That is also in post-production. That'll come out probably right after the new year. That is an interesting one.
That is probably one of the most interesting Alpha Strike clan. It's a clan versus clan, and it's pretty awesome. And we are working on coming up with our own set of rules for, I always say it,
Zellbriggen
Zellbriggen
and Honor.
and Honor, and it changes completely the dynamic of it if you actually play by it.
Yeah.
And we play by it. Well,
Kind
Ken
of.
does.
If you can figure that one out, then good for you.
My clan's liberal, and I just interpret things my own way.
We also want to let folks know, we've kind of said this in some of the questions that have been brought up, but we haven't really come out and said it. We are going to continue on the classic BattleTech and doing the Somerset videos. So we have 2 more that we have pre-planned. They're in planning phases. We're going to put those out. We're going to have to build up the terrain and everything else, and we are going to continue doing all of that on the hexes as well. So that's kind of going to be the thing moving forward for at least us. We're going to continue doing BattleTech on hexes and Alpha Strike with 3D terrain. All right, Randall, you feel us on Alpha Strike balance for clans? It has. So we have been talking with the folks over at From Above Wargaming, throwing a couple ideas off of Aaron, Tom, and Kevin, just kind of making sure that what we're thinking is going to work with their system and everything else. Because, as you know, we use their system for our campaign work and a lot of our general play, because they're great guys, and we appreciate them working with us on that. So, let's see. Let's get to
I just
another.
thought painting is probably a really poor way to do like an AMA, because I hold my breath when I paint. So I'm just sitting here right now holding my breath. I'm like, yeah, I agree with that, but I'm not saying anything because I'm bracing myself and...
This actually sounded like a good idea on paper, and we were thinking, oh yeah, we'll paint, we'll talk to everyone, and we're up to, well, we only have 17 people watching, but still, you guys are asking your questions faster than we're able to respond back.
Let me put some red on, and you answer, and then I'll talk after I get this red on.
So let's see. Zellbriggen tends to break down after turn 1. Anyways, if you're playing against the Inner Sphere, yes. So, little side story. I was at one of the local game stores playing a game of Alpha Strike against 2 relatively new folks. And each one of them had a lance, and I put together a star. I think their sum total was like 298 points, and I put a star together at about 280. So I gave them a slight advantage, but not much. Essentially, they were all at skill 4. I was at skill 3. I tried to do Zellbriggen for the first turn, and after they were just shooting me left and right, I said, forget this. It wound up being a remarkably close game. I was really surprised at the outcome of how that turned out. I was expecting either to go in and just slaughter them whole, or that they'd tear me apart piece by piece. We wound up getting to one of the last turns, and I just squeaked out the victory. But I squeaked out the victory because I killed one of their final units that could actually capture an objective point. They were 1 damage away from doing it for me. So
that's a really close game.
It was a remarkably close game. The PV was, like I said, pretty much right there. So it kind of is one of those things where if you're not playing with the Zellbriggen rules, it balances remarkably well, because you would expect your Inner Sphere or your clan mechs to kind of go up a little bit faster but hit a lot harder, and it really worked along those lines. So we've got a couple ideas for point adjustments that might help in terms of giving the clan that extra oomph for skill, but we'll get to that during our videos.
Yeah, so it's also very difficult to find that balance between lore and what's fun to watch, because honestly, like the initial invasion, like the first couple of planets, it's like, oh, here's a militia that have never practiced in a mech before, and they're going to get stomped by the clans. That's not really fun to watch. So you have to find this balance point of, we're just making up a story for a planet that shouldn't even be defended, versus the clans on their initial assault in.
So we're going to jump back to Armada. The question is, and actually here, before we do that, I'll throw this in and also, because I've had a few people ask me, either in Discord or on some of the different forums, when is the next Battlestar Galactica video going to come out? The answer to that question is going to be sometime probably late January or early February. I was in the middle of actually putting one together. However, because Ares Games is releasing a new set of rules for landings, takeoffs, missiles, and some new FTL rules, I wanted to wait until I could get my hands on that and determine, will that make a change to how the game's played. because if it does, I kind of want to work within that rule set rather than have a complete custom rule set and go from there. So, let's see, you've got your ARC 170 started.
Yeah.
And I'm still priming mine because I just didn't think ahead. And I might actually stop priming and jump on my Z95s just to start working on something. So maybe by the end of this chat, you guys will see something. So the question back to Armada is, do you think the Venators could have a super laser like in the beginning of Revenge of the Sith as an experimental or super weapon card? Maybe. I'm going to sit there and say, I don't know. Maybe? I'm thinking, what did Grievous have? Or not Grievous, the Maleficence was the one Clone Wars episode with the super weapon ion cannon thing in it or something like that.
Yes, the Malevolence.
Or Malevolence.
But that's a giant ship.
So I think if we're going to see some super laser type things, maybe it'll be in another wave beyond the Venators and we'll have specialized ships that probably kind of fall in line with like the Onager and the Starhawk. That's my guess. Let's see. Looks like you joined at the right time. Out of Citadel paints, what other paints would you recommend to paint squadrons with?
Vallejo. Vallejo, I really like. I also use Army Painter, and to be completely honest, I use really cheap paint all the time, especially for like just blacks and a lot of your other colors. So
found my eye drops.
Welcome to live stream.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I use a variety of different things. So I'll actually move the elementals. So I mean, I'm principally a Citadel guy myself, but yeah, I'll use Vallejo. I've used a couple tester paints also, depending on what it is that I'm working on. Rust color, for example, Testers has a really good one that I like and prefer over the, what's the Citadel equivalent? It's like Typhus Corrosion. So there's a couple different ones that you can use. I think for me, the reason I was doing Citadel paints is I got into painting miniatures back when I was playing Blood Bowl in the mid to late 90s. And you bought Citadel paints. And I still have a handful in the old hex boxes, or the hex containers, which most of them have dried out. But pretty much anything. Army Painter's another good one. I've used a lot of Army Painter as well. So whatever you get your hands on, in some cases, all our terrain, I use some of the cheapest paints that I can find. So it's the $2 paints at your Michaels or Joann Fabrics or any of your hobby craft stores that I'll use. Do you think that there will be any more Clone Wars era squadron packs? I would say yes. Was it the ETA 2 craft?
Yeah, that one step away from TIE Fighter, Jedi Starfighter.
You were probably going to see stuff like that. I would love to see, what was the name of the ship in Clone Wars that Anakin stole? The Twilight, I think it was called.
God, that ship is so hideous.
It's hideous, but it's cool looking. All right, well, maybe that would become some kind of neat squadron type with tons of relay or something. We'll probably see, those are the squadrons I can think of right off the top of my head. I don't know if there's any more on the droid side that we're not necessarily seeing. There probably are, and I'm sure you guys are going to mention in the stream notes.
It's the weird shuttle thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
The Nubian shuttle?
Yeah.
The one that they get and it becomes the Ghost too?
Yes. Yeah, with the long fin up on the top.
I'm trying to think if there's any other fighters that I remember seeing.
Wash really made it pop. We get some Comstar and number decals on it. They're talking about your Wolverine now.
Yeah, that's my experiment to see if it's possible. And it's possible. It is crazy time consuming though.
All right, Isaiah asks, hello Isaiah, how are you guys liking the new Armada factions? Do you guys have a ship you're especially looking forward to seeing? The Venator. I'm looking forward to seeing the Venator. It's cool. The principal ship and all of the Clone Wars. I'm going to venture a guess that we're going to see some interesting commander that comes with it. If you look at the Clone Wars, my guess would probably be Yularen, because he's in almost every single episode of the Clone Wars where there's a fleet battle. Or maybe like well, we already have Obi-Wan, but maybe an Anakin or something like that. That's what I'm looking forward to in terms of ships coming out. John, do you have a ship you're looking forward to coming out?
No comment.
Okay. There might be a reason for that too, which means someone. Yeah. Anyway. And on the droid side, probably the Providence. I'm curious to see if they do a Lucre Hulk. That'll be kind of neat. But I think the Providence cruisers are what I'm looking forward to. Actually, no, it's the Malevolence. I want to get that big ion cannon thing just because that'd be cool to play with. I'm guessing they'll use something akin to the Onager. Let's see. Lego Star Wars fan. I like Lego Star Wars too. I think that people will think too much of that scene in Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, maybe it'll probably just be an upgrade card.
Have you guys ever seen the game Thrawn's Revenge?
Is that the Empire at War
That's
mod?
the Empire at War mod. I believe when they did the Clone Wars version of it, I think it's called Republic at War, they had the turbo laser, and that was kind of cool.
Do both new factions feel like they have a unique play style? Yes.
Yes.
Versus, I think for me, the Imperials are kind of point and shoot. Rebels, you want to maneuver around to the sides and hit your larger ships from behind. The clones, they need more dice control, but definitely work well together. Sorry, we got a clock going in the background.
The clones have to work together to be able to win. The droids, you need commands to command your fighters, and if you're commanding your fighters, your Alpha Strike, I think, is better than the Imperial Alpha Strike. So they're just like super hyper, and this paint.
They're super hyper what?
Give me a sec. They're super hyper. There's just no way to do this on stream. So they're super hyper aggressive. So they're all about the Alpha Strike with their fighters, and the Republic is kind of like a weird mix between the Empire and the Rebellion, which makes sense.
It's like a weak Empire almost.
Faster
in some cases.
Their attack dice are worse than the Empire.
Oh, yeah.
But they have the hull of the Rebels.
The Rebels.
But they have the keywords that the Empire have that keep their fighters working together.
So what I find interesting about playing with the the Republic squadrons is exactly that. Whenever I would playing the Rebellion, my constant thought is, man, I wish I had some of those Empire keywords, and looking through what we have for Clone Wars, I'm like, yes! But I can't use it with Biggs. So, what are you going to do? Skull asks, what do you think will be the changes to the modification texts on most of the turbo laser upgrades? What do you think will be the changes to the modification? Most of them are out already with the upgrade pack. Maybe
I think he's asking what is going to change the meta. So you're not going to see super oppressive, I don't want to play with you, super Star Destroyer lists. And that's a good thing, because with all those red dice, and those red dice, like, I'm going to just change anything into an accuracy, and then I get a free accuracy, and I'm rolling like 12 dice, and I'm going to do 10 damage to your ship at long range, and oh, by the way, you can't use any of your tokens. I'm glad you brought your ships to play with me. We won't see that, and that's a good thing. We're also going to see less of... I always tell this to Ken, I don't know if I've actually said it on stream, I hate the Onager. I absolutely hate the Onager, and to the point that if we were to meet up at the game store and you brought an Onager, I'm like, okay, I'll see you next week. I don't want to play it.
I think we should make him play it just one time. I don't know, but
I just don't like it.
maybe in an 800-point game, and he'll let me bring one.
No.
No, same. Yeah, it's
No.
guest star for Ken to use the onager.
Yeah, I just don't like it. So what that does with the modification is I believe all the super laser upgrade cards are modifications too.
I believe they are, yeah.
So you're now limited in that turbo laser slot what you're bringing. So then you're not just auto-killing things at long range or extreme range. It's just...
I kind of enjoy the ability to do that, but I totally understand that it sucks kind of the fun of playing out of the game.
Yeah.
So,
and with the evade change and being able to discard it, it makes it better.
I think we're going to see some drastic changes to how all that gets played out. We just haven't had a chance to really see them get to the table yet, have we?
No.
So, let me jump back and make sure that we aren't missing anything. Theoretical New Republic. Okay, let me start again. My theoretical new squadron pack is Republic. Ada 2 and the V-Wing. Isn't the V-Wing just the V-19? Or is that a separate? Actually, no, that is a separate ship. It was in the Targan book. It's kind of the next evolution of the V-19, I think.
The V-Wing is that weird, again, almost TIE Fighter, the one that has
It's like an H
the weird
like
wings
thing, yeah.
on the side.
Yeah.
It's like... Where's your fighters? Yeah, it's kind of like a Torrent if the wings were straight up and down.
Right.
Yeah, the V-Wing.
Z95, maybe, and might be one that I'm about to start working on because I'm getting tired of priming my stuff. Let's see, the Lat gunship. I agree. I forgot about that one. That would be cool to have. And then maybe that'll help me take out some hard cells. Let's see. And then on the opposite side, the Shethapede. Ooh, I forgot about that. The little freighter. Magna Guard fighter, HMP droid gunship. That might be a little. I don't know. That
If they do a Lat, that would be good.
That would be good. And then the Umbaran starfighter. Mm-hmm.
God, what a cool arc.
Fall of the Republic is the one by Thrawn's Revenge. They didn't do the spot gun yet. Republic at War, completely different mod. Oh, okay.
Oh, it's the Republic at War? It was one of the mods. Whatever it was, I watched it on Corey Luce's channel.
Let's see. Do you think that the expansions will get a little cheaper without the dials and ship speed dials?
I'm going to go with no.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing. I think you're probably looking at two reasons why the dials and the ship ones and the command dials are not going to be included in future ones. First of all, I'm going to go under the assumption that as new versions of the original 8 waves come out, they're not going to have ship dials. We're probably going to see new packaging now that Atomic Mass Games has control of Armada. That'd be my first guess. I think all the prices are going to be staying the same, and it's probably production increase, costs, everything else. So you're going to see the price naturally rise.
I think they did it... I actually have no clue, but I think they're doing that due to the fact that the price of everything with tariffs and shipping and world being the way it is have gone up. So if they get rid of those things out of it, which is really, you don't need... I literally have a box of them.
Yeah.
Hundreds of them. And I think then just knocking those out, then their production, their final cost will be roughly the same after all the increase of productions, but I don't know. I'm not associated with a corporate side of that or manufacturing.
But if we ever find out, we'll clearly let you guys know. Let's see. New to Armada. Plan to start collecting with the Separatist ships. Don't know how much. Start with the base set. That's all you really have right now.
So my recommendation is, like always, even with the original core, you're probably going to need 2 starter sets.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's hard to recommend what you want to buy, because once you start buying, you're going to buy everything. So then it just becomes how many of each you're going to buy. And then you're like, my name's John, and I have a problem, because I buy a lot of stuff. But yeah, you
Do
probably
we want to tell the viewers at home how many core sets you currently have, John?
probably not. I will tell you. I think I have 8 Imperial 2 fighter packs.
Yeah, you've got enough to field every ace twice over with enough generics to fill up 400 points if you wanted to fly Empire or First Order.
Yeah. So I have a. We're at Ken's place, so I don't have my fighters, but I paint my Imperial fighters. I have like this cool light gray blue that I use for my generics, and then my aces I have this like dark Empire Strikes Back blue. Mm-hmm. And then I can differentiate them on the table easily. And then in addition, I have a complete second set of all the aces that I have, and I'm painting in the First Order colors because it looks really cool on the table. And a lot of times I'll bring those to tournaments and things like that because no one else has them. And then it's easy to keep track of which one's mine.
All right. Although, if you do have questions on some of the older stuff, we can kind of help give you some ideas. One of the things I caution you on with Armada is you can always say, sure, let's get one of these, and maybe this is kind of a cool idea. You almost have to play the game a little bit and say, this is kind of what I want to try, and that's going to be a lot easier for us to make a recommendation on what to get next.
If you want to do fighters and you're Imperial, you should get a Quasar.
Most definitely.
You should, as an Imperial player, you should also have at least one ISD, probably 2, so you have the Chimera and then you have the ISD original, but I don't know if the ISD original is even in print anymore.
I'm sure they'll come back out again.
Sometimes it's a lot of print issues with that. Let's see, this yellow is very yellow.
Do you need to tone it down?
No, we'll just go bold. Why not?
Like we said, this was a great idea on paper before we decided to actually jump up and start painting and talking at the same time. But we do appreciate all the questions. We're going to try to get to as many, if not all of them, as we can. All right, so let's see. Skull asks, in Armada, what upgrade card category do you think needs more attention and or improve the game? I think we need more ion cannons because we're ion radio. Okay, that's a bad... Yeah, all right, I'm going to be quiet.
No, but honestly, I think the ion cannons do need work.
Mm-hmm. I think what's interesting with the ion cannons, they have some interesting effects. Whether you're getting rid of defense tokens, or rather you're forcing a defense token to be discarded, or you're at right now with the ability to exhaust or discard command tokens, that's going to have an effect on any card that requires a token to refresh it. So I think we'll see them come up a little bit more in play. I think there are some officer cards we are just never going to see out, at least not in competitive play. Director Izard.
Why?
Izard
She's not good?
Well...
I mean, so...
Hey, someone give me a reason where we can use her that she's actually useful, where looking at the command stack of another ship is great.
There isn't. So, for the most part, Armada is not a game that you should be playing, we should not be playing turn by turn. You should have the entire game planned out from the beginning to end and know what your dials and stuff should be at each point. So you knowing what your opponent's doing shouldn't change what you've been doing. So knowing what their dial is shouldn't matter. And if you're going to wait for them to activate a ship and they're a squadronless, they should have a squadron dial. You don't need a card that's way over cost to be able to tell that they have a squadron dial. That's my opinion on it. So officers like that need some work.
All right, so moving on, let's see, lost where we're at here. How if all of the guys in the newer factions can influence the meta? No, we already answered that question. No, did we? How, if at all, do you guys think that the newer factions are going to influence the meta of Armada? Let's swap back to the full view here. I'm assuming we're talking about competitive play. I think it's too early to tell. I think we need to have the next wave coming out, and then we'll be able to kind of figure out more how some of those ships are going to play into it. Providence, the Recusant on the Separatist side, and then on the clone side we have the Venator, and I think it was a Pelta. It looks like that it's coming out.
Yep.
So we're going to find out. The Republic doesn't have any support or fleet support slots currently sitting out there, and what else do we have? I think as far as the Separatists go, you're down to a very minimal fleet type, I'm going to say. What do you think?
I think that right now the newer factions are good, but they're good against each other because they're at the same level, power level, while the Empire and the Rebels are both pretty fleshed out. So there's more options there, which will be better at competitive play. So I don't see the Separatists or the Republic doing well right now with the limited amount of ships, fighters, and options that they have. I mean, when you consider there's, 13 some commanders for all the other factions and currently only 2 for each of the Republic and stuff like that.
All right, so let's see. Next question coming up. I lost my spot here. Okay. Do you guys hope you'll see the Malevolence show up soon? As we said, yes.
But, see, the Malevolence would have to be like the size of the Super Star Destroyer.
Would it? I thought it was more like kind of the size of the Starhawk. Or am I remembering wrong?
You're remembering wrong. Because Providence are the size of, Star Destroyers. Well, I'll Google it. Give me a sec.
We've got a couple people painting mechs with us. Awesome. And Armada is not a game you should be playing, John 2020. Wait, what? When did you say that?
Did I say that?
I don't know. Bradley, you're gonna have to figure that one out again. Anyways, all right, let's get back to what we're doing here. So, all right. Unless Victory and Architects Republic. Now, that'd be kind of interesting, but I don't think we're going to see the Victory or the Architects. Well, we'll probably see whatever the Republic light cruiser is in an Architects fashion.
So the ship is 4,800 meters.
All right, so it's only like 3 times the size of a Star Destroyer, so they'll just make it into they'll reduce the scale.
It's going to be a big ship, though.
It'll come along with the Lucre Vulcan. Assuming that ever gets made. Not sure what the Separatists could get.
Do you have a light blue?
Do I have a light blue? I've got several light blues. I got that light blue. That's a
That's
Lothar
perfect.
blue. Okay. What change were you most surprised by in 1.5 and the update to the RRG? Evade, for me, that was kind of really cool and unexpected. The change to Intel is definitely welcome. Those are the 2 biggest changes that I know were in there. I'm trying to run through my head what else was changed on the 1.5 rules. A whole bunch of little stuff.
Pass tokens.
Pass tokens, although that's come into play once for us so far.
Yes, it will come into play, I think, more in Imperial versus Rebel type matchups than we only have 2 ships out for the Republic and the Separatist right now.
It'll make it interesting when you start seeing your larger fleets, like for example, your MSU lists versus like a 2-ship ISD type factions where you're going to start seeing pass tokens.
Okay, I think I'm for the most part done with this arc.
Let's take a look, see what we got here, John.
Focus. There we go. So I stuck with the yellow canopies, got the tips painted,
There we go. You got it.
got the engines in, and it's very clean white. And I think I'm going to call it good because that's not too difficult of where I got the paint placed. And that'll be easy to copy over to everything.
Apparently you paused at some point and said that we shouldn't be playing. Probably got distracted. So
I mean, painting and everything like that is
Well.
difficult at the same time.
Let's see. When you were explaining how you should play Armada by having your whole game planned, you said Armada is not a game you should be playing.
Oh, and then I paused because I was thinking. So yeah,
Yeah.
did I complete that thought?
I don't think you did, no.
So, Armada is a game that you should have completely planned out. So, like, at least for your objectives. So, when I'm playing a fleet, I come up with what I'm doing, and then I just stick to it. So, the best example is I'm using a Quasar. Turn 1, I'm going to look at the opponent's fleet to see if they could possibly get to me. They probably can't get to me, so I'm going to nav on that first turn. Then every single dial after that is going to be a squadron, because it's better to waste a squadron dial than to not have a squadron dial.
I'd agree. That's one thing you'll find in some of my earlier games, because I was kind of getting back into Armada, that I was just, my command, it was poor choice, I would say. So, we're kind of done there. It's a game that you learn by playing, right? So the more you play, the better you get at it. You start figuring things out. I know in the course of the last year, I have probably improved.
Yeah. I think the 1.5 changes are going to be good for you.
Yeah, actually looking through a lot of the 1.5 changes, most of that really falls into my play style. And, I think they're a little bit better for me in those regards. But that's my opinion in terms of how the 1.5 changes have really impacted my game. I'm sure there's a bunch of people that just can't stand it at all, that it's ruined the way that they generally play, or especially the folks that really like to leverage Strategic Advisor, Bale, and or Price. And it is what it is.
Yeah, but it was becoming stagnant. You need a meta that can actually change, and if everyone's just playing the exact same ships with the exact same upgrades, the game's not in a healthy place. And with the 2-ship list, it became very unhealthy, because 2-ship's terrible at playing second player. So whoever had the biggest bid pretty much won, and then it just came down to, is my dice rolls going to be consistent enough to kill your fighters and ships before you're able to kill my fighters and ships?
I'm going to throw something interesting on the camera, and then I'm going to answer a question. Let's see, we're doing Star Wars, so there we go. I'll let you guys look at these. And maybe draw in the right way. And maybe we have to put them up on something here that make it a little bit easier to see. Oh, hey, that might work a little bit better. What do you think, John?
Oh, that does look good.
All right, hang on. Sorry, guys. So one of the questions that's asked, that you're new to painting and you're new to, and of course that's just not going to work, is it? Focus. We need something behind it.
It's hard to focus when Darth Vader's trying to choke you. Give me the Clone Wars box.
That'll work. There we go. In fact, can we just leave the Clone Wars box there? So you guys can look at Darth Vader. Suggestion in terms of painting squadrons. Don't live stream an AMA and try to paint squadrons. I have not managed to get anything done at all. I've pretty much given up on trying to do squadrons at this point. I'm just going to talk to you guys and read questions off, because honestly, this is. I don't think we're going to do the painting live stream thing again, are we? Unless that's all we're doing is painting.
And then there's no talking. So
Yes.
I managed to get a B-22 done because it's silver.
One coat, we're done.
Done.
Null and oil is your friend.
Yes, it is.
In terms of squadrons. You want to have a good base coat, so priming them is probably key.
So Ken and I have completely different philosophies on
we
painting,
do.
so I'll let him talk, and then I'll go into my philosophy.
So let me pull up one of my squadrons. I'm going to put it up here. This is a completed one. This is one of my Z95s. And let's see if that will actually show that or not. Yes.
Yeah, the box behind
All right.
it works. Awesome.
So, as you can see, they're kind of a gray with some yellow on it. And if we turn this around so you guys can see the back, did I do the engines on these yet? Did I? No, not yet. So ordinarily I'll have the engines done and whatnot. But this is almost done, not quite. I like to null and oil all of, or if it's a, one of the aces. I'm just going to not play with that and I'll just leave it a little bit.
We should have brought one of our other cameras for this.
Yeah. Next time, folks. Let's go back to the other view. So I like to null and oil them and make them look dirty and used, because that to me is part of the Star Wars universe, is that used feel with all my Rebel ships. When I'm looking at my Imperial ships, or my squadrons rather, all of them are a lot cleaner. They're more precise with my lines, or at least as good as I can do with them. In terms of the Republic and Separatist squadrons, those are probably going to be more singular colored or more fresh off the line kind of a look. John, on the other hand, has a different philosophy on painting.
So my philosophy is painting's completely an illusion, and the fighters are so small I don't need to do insane things with them. So for the most part, I'm not a fan of washing everything. I don't wash really any of my Imperial fighters because they're mainly black and darker colors, and I want that really clean line on them. So I don't wash them. I go in and I spend a lot of time with small brushes to paint the panel lines and things like that. Again, I don't have any of them, or I would try to show you. It'll probably be out of focus, but at least you would see it. And then my Rebels, I like my generics very like white, and then my aces to be a gray color. And if I were to wash both of them, they would come out almost the same color, unless I thin my wash down a lot, and it's just not worth the effort for the fighter. So if you saw my fighter on the table, that's going to look really good. Let's get a darker box. And you can see what it is from afar. So I don't need to wash that because the stark white is going to make it stand out. And when I go to do my aces, I'm going to do it in, like, I think my color I do it is like a cheap dolphin gray. So then it's just going to be the same thing but gray, and I'm going to be able to tell the difference from it from across the table. So that's how I paint fighters. How I paint like mechs and things like that is a bit different. I do washes, but I don't do washes on everything. So that's going to change.
So because I am, generally speaking, a individual unit painter, I go to an extreme on everything because I'm a little nuts. In fact, actually,
I'm not. I'm a let's paint it fast and get done.
So, like, for example, this is a very rough, quickly done Thrawn, in case you guys wanted to see that. Let's see if we can't get a decent view of Thrawn. Come on, focus in on Thrawn. So, not perfect, but enough to get the idea. So that was just, again, done pretty quickly. I've got a couple other minis that I've put together that I do nuts on. We'll get some of these up on Instagram so you guys can see those. Like John said, you're looking at these small, tiny fighters, and Separatists and Republic fighters are a lot smaller, I think, than the Imperial and the Rebellion fighters. you're generally speaking going to be 3 feet away from them. So keep that in mind. They don't have to be perfect. I go nuts to having engine glows and things like that. You don't have to. You can. That's all personal preference. Same thing like painting your ships. Some people want to paint their ships, some don't. I'll do little oddball details like the hangar bays. John, you've repainted the engines, I think, on the Superstar Destroyer.
I did a lot on the Superstar. I pretty much poured an entire bottle of null oil. I thought the cityscape was just way too light. So I heavily null oiled that, and then I repainted the engines because they were the wrong color.
Like I said, null oil is your friend.
Do you have any null oil by any
I
chance?
do have null oil. It's sitting right here.
Perfect.
All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Brand new. Just curious if the Ships and Republic starter will eventually be sold separately. No idea. I would like to think yes, but there's been no indication of that. So when the original core set came out with Star Wars Armada, I think within the release date, I think even before the release date, they said, okay, here's Wave 1, which includes everything that's in the core set. You also got the Demolisher and the Assault Frigate. We haven't seen anything like that at all. In fact, the only thing we had was, I believe that was Gen Con when they dropped the spoiler for the next wave.
Yes,
So
I believe so.
maybe that's in there. Maybe there'll be another wave. No idea. But I'd like to think that there will eventually be a way to pick up more acclimators and everything else. By the same token, if you get 2 core sets and all you're doing is buying the one faction, that's probably all you're ever going to need. Not that I'm suggesting you should go out and buy more core sets, but right now, are you guys thinking of doing some Star Wars Legion at some point? I have a lot of Legion painted.
I have some Legion painted. It's one of those things that I was buying into it to play it, and then pandemic hit. So then we haven't really played it.
So, could we? We have played Legion just to play it. Now, in terms of on the channel, I don't know yet. That's something where we'll think about it. How about that?
Yeah.
Does that mean there's some Legion in your future? Everyone wants to know if we're doing Legion. I suspect that if we did Legion, a bunch of people would be excited, and probably a bunch of people would be irritated, because we've got 3 primary games on the channel already. We were at one point seriously considering doing Legion, and then the pandemic hit, and that threw all of our plans out the window.
Yeah.
That really slowed down BattleTech. That pretty much killed our Battlestar Galactica line. And fortunately, we filmed.
We usually film way in advance.
Yeah.
So typically we have 8 episodes
Yeah.
in advance, and then so usually Armada doesn't take too long to edit. So we can edit those and just have them done. BattleTech takes a long time to edit. Mm-hmm. So primarily you take care of the BattleTech editing, I take care of the Armada editing, and then you take care of odds and end type videos. Mm-hmm. So as we went through the pandemic, we went down to 0 videos, and that's why we were doing those remote commander card videos, because we had nothing, weren't able to meet, and restrictions and all that fun stuff. So then we started building back up our bank of Armada videos in case something happened. And then when we got near to the new faction releases, then there was new rules going to be released and things like that. So then we just stopped recording Armada when we hit to that point, having pre-recorded.
That's where we actually did a lot of the BattleTech stuff already in Alpha Strike. So there's a bunch of it already filmed. It's just in post-production. Unfortunately, we wanted to really get a lot of Clone Wars and everything else done with the new Armada release, and we made sure we did a lot on that opening day. So you got the unboxings. They really weren't unboxings, so we didn't really open the box for you, but we showed you what was in them. And then we got our first battle report out right away, so we have a lot of Armada still filmed as well.
Those days were so busy. I think the one day I was up for 25 hours.
Yeah, it was a lot, but we do it for you guys.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any new objective card ideas you would like to see in the game?
So
We were just talking about that, weren't we?
for me, right? Armada is at a weird point. Like, I actually like Legion objective cards better than Armada objective cards, because in Legion, killing the opponent just means that they're not able to properly score objectives. While in Armada, killing your opponent is really the only way to win the game. And there's no objective that you can play. Well, there is, but they nerfed it because it was an unfun experience. But the objective matters, but it doesn't at all. And it just gives you an advantage either way. It's not going to make or break like you're winning compared to Legion. Like, I could kill almost everything off of you in Legion and still lose because you were able to hold objectives, or even like actually like the new 40K mission mechanics
with the secondary objectives?
with the secondaries and everything like that, because it makes it so that most armies in that game are then playable. Because if you just play the objective and you die, you're at least playing the objective and you can score points. While Armada, if I were to do a 2.0 or a 1.7 or a 1.5.45 beta, I would do completely different objectives and make it more focused on holding objectives and playing the objective instead of killing ships. But the game would completely need to be reworked, and at the speed of ships, the game would need to be reworked. That's my opinion on objectives. That's a long rant to say nothing.
I thought there was some interesting concepts in the pivotal battle objectives. The evacuation one was interesting because it wasn't a normal game of Armada. So I think I would like to see more narrative style objectives to the game. I think that would bring a lot of interest into it. Were you all painting any separatist squadrons earlier? No, in fact, I don't think we have. You have a few on the table.
I have them. I'm still in my mind trying to figure out my paint scheme, and talking and painting and thinking about paint scheme is very difficult. So right now I'm just painting one of the B-22s, which, by the way, is one of my favorite fighters. Have we released that video that I talked about my fighter builds?
I think that's the next one. I think that's Friday's video.
Okay, sneak peek. So I'm a huge fan of them, and I think that a very mixed version of Separatist fighters is very good. I think that my core fighter development for the Separatists right now is 2 B-22s and then the 2 Tri-Fighter Aces. Those two Tri-Fighter Aces are incredible, and being able to snipe 4 unobstructed, all the counter, the other ones like, oh, you're near me, have a damage, is really good when you put it into a mix of other fighters. Then the B-22s have TIE Defender dice, and if they have other fighters around them that don't have screen, they get to reroll. So they're kind of generics with a defensive ability, and they have relay, which you kind of want relay because then you can throw your fighters out and do a farther out alpha strike. So that's my core. 2 B-22s and the 2 Tri-Fighter Aces. Then you can put in fighters to build up to the list. So I think I have like 3 different lists that all come to like 132 points that include like hyenas and vultures and then Tri-Fighters. So this next game's Tri-Fighters, right? That I use?
Yes.
Yeah.
Got Tri-Fighters.
So you'll see my Tri-Fighter version of it, which I'm not really sold on Tri-Fighters, but you'll see why in that video. But with that, those 4 squadrons as your core, I think that's a really good starting point, and then you can move in some of the other fighters. Vultures are amazing.
So Plastic Crack Gaming. If I'm saying that correctly, great. If not, apologies. But if memory serves, you're asking what's going on, what's the fun stuff we're doing. We're thinking about painting squadrons. We're not actually really doing it. And it's more of an AMA to you guys, because again, we're celebrating the fact that we've got 1,000 of you that actually like listening to us. So we'll tell you a funny little story. So when John and I first thought about this 2 years ago, year and a half ago,
Yeah, roughly. I could tell the story after you're done telling that story about how it started.
what I was going to say was we initially were thinking, all right, we'll film a couple episodes, release one here and there, like one month or something like that, and we got some positive feedback on the first one. we just decided to release the other one. Then all of a sudden we started getting to the point to where we had to just continuously do them. So, and we're enjoying it. So thank you guys for that. I don't know. Do you have another version of that?
No, just the idea. So way back in the day, there was a local game store that has since closed down, and we'll go back in time to the beginning of Armada. So at the beginning of Armada, at the time I was playing a lot of Star Trek Attack Wing. And then I got,
fun game.
because I really just wanted to play Star Wars, but I didn't really want to play fighters like an X-Wing, because they came out kind of at the same time. I wanted to play Starship. So when Armada came out, I decided I'm going to buy into this. And I went to the game store right after the release, and the people that really turned me off of it, yeah, and
I had a similar thing.
like they just all hung out in the corner because I didn't know any of them because I didn't play X-Wing, I played Attack Wing, and they just didn't say anything to anyone else, and they just played against themselves, and I was just there waiting for someone else to show up, and that sucked. So I didn't play Armada for the first couple of waves. I just collected everything, and then I watched Masters of the Fleet / Masters of the Force now, and that's how I got my Armada fix. And I would just eat up whatever I watched on YouTube and then come up with ideas. I had tons of list ideas, and I would still build lists, but I wasn't playing it. And then you and someone else streamed a game from this game store.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized this game store is literally a block down the street from me, and I never knew it was there because it had just opened. So I got in contact with the game store, and they then introduced me to Ken. That's how we met. And then Ken and I started live streaming games from the game store whenever we played. I think it was like, Tuesday nights a lot of times?
It's either Tuesdays or Wednesdays. If you do a search on the internet, you'll actually find it. They're
we
still
actually
there.
have some pretty good games on that.
There was one or two that we never recorded that were remarkably good. Caution on some of those. A couple of rules were definitely gotten wrong because that was me getting back into Armada. So similar to John, I got into Armada right as the game was released, and I played through Wave 1, and I went to one tournament after it came out, and I did meh. And that was back when you could still do 10-0 games. And then Wave 2 came out, and I was trying to find places to play, and it was too competitive for my tastes in terms of everywhere that I was going, so I just kind of gave it up. Game store opened in my area right around the time Carillion Conflict came out. It was right before, and that kind of got me back into playing Armada, which was fun because I enjoy the game. And then, unfortunately, that store's closed down.
Yeah, so when then that game store closed, I found a different store in the area, and that's when I met, that's the store that the Can't Get Your Ship Out guys play at, which is a very competitive store, and I was not competitive at that time. So
Then.
So then I started playing there, and they're very good players, so you just get better. And at that time, Ken wasn't playing. And then we started playing occasionally at like each other's houses, like once every 3-4 months.
3-4 months, something like that.
And then I went to Worlds. What Worlds would that have been? 2019?
2019, yeah, I think so.
2019. And that's the year that Masters of the Force, Luke lost his whole Legion collection. Which,
I remember that. That had to have sucked.
which absolutely sucked. But I met him there. And that was really cool. And we were just chit-chatting, and I'm like, it's a really weird, meeting someone that you've watched. Like, honestly, that channel is a lot of the reasons why I kept with Armada for 2 years without playing. And then I had conversations with the people that I knew with Armada and things like that of like, why don't we, because at that point, Masters of the Force hadn't released like an Armada video in almost a year because they went primarily Legion. And I'm like, there's no content for Armada besides like Kravik, and then occasionally like once a year when Master of the Fleet played Armada, but we also weren't getting releases either at the time.
Yeah, it was
just kind of
like
like
a dark time.
A dark time. Before Ion Radio. Oh, joke.
He said it, not me.
Yeah. So no one really wanted to do a YouTube thing. They all thought that it should be like either like a blog style or a podcast, which I'm terrible. I just ramble, so I shouldn't do podcast or things like this. So it was just in the back of my head that you need at least, obviously, 2 people to do this properly. And you and I hadn't like seen each other at that point for like almost 6 months, and then we started playing again very consistently together. I'm like, let's do this. I have this idea. I want to do a YouTube channel of Armada. Mm-hmm. And then we just started talking and planning, and then after that, it was like, what, 8 months after that is when we finally started releasing things?
I think we'd started talking in early spring, so like March, April, and our first our start date was November 16th, 2019. So it was probably about 6-7 months of thinking about it, planning it. We actually talked to one of our buddies who does graphic design work. That's how the logo came out, and you see his name at the end of all our credits. So Will, if you're watching, big thanks. But we really took our time to make sure that we did it to a level of quality we wanted to see out of it, and that's what we present to you guys. And we're still making incremental improvements each time we go ahead and release another video. So getting back to some of the other questions, so Skull, you're asking, when is the Ken versus Master of the Fleet Ken Battle of the Kens?
That would be amazing.
Yeah, I think what'll be funny is both Ken and I will constantly be saying, just give me a minute, Ken, because that would be funny. And the title will have a lot of K's in it and a lot of Ken talk, and someone else off camera will have to say, hey, Ken, we'll both turn and go, yeah? Don't know. The answer to that question is I don't know, but...
when the world returns to semi-normal?
When the world returns to normal, and either Ken or I are willing to make a 20-hour flight to the other person's homeland, we'll have to do that. But we actually have been having a couple conversations with Ken from Masters of Fleet recently. Great guy. So what are you looking for?
The fighter I was painting.
I have no idea where
here it is.
It's right in front of you?
Yeah.
So let's get back to a couple other questions here. Clarification question. Does TRC work for Salvo? I don't think so. Well,
yeah, sure.
Yeah, it will. Because Salvo's considered an attack.
It's not technically adding a die, so that's fine. And all your other cards, as far as I know, should work. So yes, you'd be spending your evade, and honestly, spending your evade is worth a lot right now because of the evade changes. So I don't know if you necessarily want to be doing that in a defensive step, because more than likely you've already... Because really the only ships that will be able to equip that with more than 2 evades is the CR-90.
CR-90.
So you've probably already
MC-30.
spent one. I don't know if you want to be putting that on that. So if you have it on that, you've probably already spent one, and then you're spending another one, or you're discarding it across most of the board. So I don't know if you want to be discarding it to be doing the 2 damage.
Jacob says hello from St. Louis. Hello from Chicago. Well, Oak Lawn. Kind of Chicago. Let's see. Is there any games you guys prefer to record over others?
So I think actually Armada is the easiest for us to record.
I think we have that down pat because we're, 40 episodes?
With the campaign, yeah.
Yeah, with the campaigns. I mean, there's another 10, 20, throw in another 25, 40. Yeah, we're probably about 50 episodes of Armada that we've released. The BattleTech is a little bit more complicated to film, whereas playing it, simple. Alpha Strike's great, and actually we prefer Alpha Strike to BattleTech in terms of filming, at least I do.
Yes.
Having said that, now that we're running BattleTech on hexes, that really sped the game up, and that made it easy for us to film and to play.
Is there any highlights that really go on B-22s? Or is it like, silver, done, cockpit?
Well, you know what you could do is you can get some of the brighter silver and some white on the tops and give it a little bit of dry brushing or just some light.
I dry brushed it with a silver that was brighter than the lead belcher already.
I throw some little white right up at the top. So we're trying to help out everyone too.
I'll think about it. Okay.
So yeah, I think for me, Armada it's easy enough for us to film it, and it doesn't really get too much in the way. I think the one thing we do differently filming Armada than playing Armada, one, we really think through the turn in its entirety.
So we
or
basically
activation.
play the turn. We play each activation out, so then we know where to set up the camera, where we're moving, and doing everything that. So recording Armada is not really playing Armada.
No.
So we plan everything out, and then we do the dice rolls. So that's why every now and then when we get done with, you'll see soon, an activation, and we're like, well, I did not plan for that. I'll need a minute to figure out what I'm doing, because my movement was going to be ram, but something else happened. Explosions took place, and dice...
Spoilers.
The dice gods bless me.
The dice gods. I hate the dice gods right now. Sean Fields says hello. Hello, Sean. Let's see. I think I'm caught up here. 81 minutes in. Cool. Let's see. What else can I think of? What about games outside of what we throw up on the channel?
Honestly, I've barely played any games since...
Pandemic's kind of killed that.
Some games that I would like to, but I don't know how we would ever record it, is Star Trek Ascendancy.
That's a great game.
It's a fun game, and it's a long game. I don't know how we would record it. We would probably need just above camera, and then every now and then break in.
Talk about taking a really long game and making it longer. Twilight Imperium would be a cool one to see, but you have to get into people's heads to really do that right.
Yeah. I'm sure someone somewhere on... Maybe it's we need a full-blown studio and do a Twitch recording of those type of games, but... Yeah. So, the great thing about having two people is we can agree on things and get things done. The hard part with having two people is we're two people. If we had another person, we would probably do more of a camera that moves around and things like that, or be able to do other things. But right now, it's just the two of us. A lot of those big production YouTube game channels I've seen, it was really, really well done. They had graphic overlays and everything for Dune, which is also a great game. Well, that crew themselves is it's a 12-person group that do it.
Yeah.
Which is huge. And then you actually have people that are I'm a production person, and I'm completely behind the scenes and you never see me. And then you have players that can rotate in and out, who are available each week. We don't have that.
John and me, that's it.
Yeah, so...
But it's fun. We're actually kind of enjoying it. That's why you're getting one episode a week instead of, 5. I mean,
yeah.
We also have jobs and stuff like that.
Jobs, families keep us away from what we really like, which is playing Armada.
Yeah. Let's see. When am I going to win a game? Soon.
So...
Go ahead.
Armada is a very chess-like game.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not bragging, but I'm better than you. And
He is.
So that's a really hard curve to come across. And I don't go easy on them because that's not fun.
For him.
Well, if I came in and I was so I'm playing a one ship, it's a CR90, and I'm going to have a 250-point bid, let's have a game, and you're I win! It's not really a win.
To be fair, I've made a point to tell John, don't go easy on me, let's not handicap me in any way, shape, or form. I got to learn how to play the game. Oddly enough, after our last episode that we filmed, which is going to be our Christmas special, that's all I'm going to say, something finally clicked in my head. So the first episode of the next year, you're going to see a slightly different way of me playing. And that may or may not help me out, but we'll see.
Yeah. Also, what's hard about it is play styles are very different. And I like experimenting type play style. And I love running just jank all the time. And because of that, that's actually one of the reasons why I don't do as well in tournaments as I feel like
you don't play the same fleet again and again and again.
I went to LVO and I think I placed I don't remember. Whatever I
Middle of the
play.
pack. 16th, I think, is
Yeah,
your favorite
16
number.
out of usually it's 16 wherever the prize card comes in, one below that. I think it was top 10 there. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Watch the LVO video.
It's a long time ago. A year. Wow. Yeah, wow. Isn't that crazy that it's only a year ago?
No. Well, I think I was the last one in a tournament. That was Gurney mid-February.
Yeah.
End February.
Yeah, that might have been the last real tournament that took place.
I think so.
Yeah, so
2-person TI4. So the rules in Twilight Imperium are very specific. You need at least 3 people to play. I don't recommend it with less than 5, really.
I don't like playing those type of games with even numbers.
You really need 6 to play Twilight Imperium. If you want to be crazy, play it with 14. I did that at Gen Con, not the last time I was in there, but like way back 15 years ago or something like that. And that was cool. Took all day, but it was cool.
I was rambling about something. Oh, no, fleet. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I went to LVO. I only played that fleet like maybe 3 times before going. So, like, I like flipping fleets. And that's what you see on the channel is we just are constantly flipping fleets. Well, Ken is, I like to develop my fleet and learn more how to play it. So us actually playing on YouTube is a disadvantage to you. Because you would be better if you played the same fleet over and over again.
Yeah, maybe I'll just start doing that.
But then it's like, oh, Ken's bringing a standard fleet, and John's trying something new again today. Like, and so it's like a balancing point between like what are we doing for the channel versus what we're doing. And with the pandemic, like we used to actually play, we would record like 1 game a week and then play other games a week, just not on the camera. But with everything going on, it makes it difficult to do that.
Yeah. So one of the things Randall brings up is that sometimes people that do gaming content turn it into a job and lose some of the fun. So we actually, this is a business that we've created. We've got a little LLC for Ion Radio. That's more to kind of protect us in case someone does something. We're still having fun playing all of our games. And I think once we stop having fun, we're going to reevaluate what we're doing. Even though both campaigns I did horribly and it snowballed, it wore us down at the end.
This last one did.
We finished them for completeness sake. And that's why I think it was round 4 we did the quick play style. That actually wasn't that bad for us to play through it quick.
Yes, but that also that's something we've been talking about learning how to do to see if we could do a faster play style to get more games out. And it was like, perfect. We can experiment on something that we almost didn't do.
So in one case, it gave us something new to try. And that's something we may or may not see more of, but in a different fashion, I guess you would say. But for the moment, we're still having fun playing all the games. I think if we really just got sick of Armada, then we probably would jump into Legion or something like that and bring that to you. But
that's actually one of the advantages that we have. That's actually why we called ourselves Ion Radio and nothing like Star Wars or specifically branded, is that if a game were to die, because it's not, but we can jump into something else, like even like how we do BattleTech. Like if we got really tired of Armada, we could just jump into BattleTech and do BattleTech easily for a year.
Yeah.
And do that. Or we could jump into like Battlestar, and there's like other things. Like we both own so many different types of miniature games. Like between the two of us, we could play probably a different miniature game on stream once a week
And
for like
probably not
4 months without running out of miniature games. Plus,
I'm just thinking what I got in the house. I easily just right off the top of my head think up of 14, 15 different miniature games.
so we almost have a
that
year
we
of
could play.
content of just doing a different game every single week.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things that we can go into if we get tired of a game.
So something to consider for down the road. But let's get back to some of the questions. And now we got them pouring in. We're 90 minutes in. I think we're probably going to cut this at, 2 hours, you think?
They're roughly 2
Yeah.
hours.
So we got a little bit of time. We're going to focus in on the questions.
Clearly, we're done painting.
Yeah, because we're not doing that anymore. All right, let's see. A couple new games I'm excited about. King's Dilemma and A War of Whispers. I'm not familiar with either one.
Yeah, I haven't kept up with most things that are releasing recently.
tell us about it in either the comments or in the stream, and maybe we'll get back to that.
Or you could join us on Facebook. There's general and there's off-topic chats, and there's chats for basically everything.
We've got a bunch of stuff on our Discord. Some of those channels have got, or the Discord channels have gotten interesting. In fact, actually, we were talking earlier about Master of the Fleet and Ken, and we were talking about what cameras we were using to film. So,
Yeah, whole production channel just for talking production.
let's see. Some of our favorite card combos. Let's see. A lot of mine were specific to the Onager that we can't use anymore because of modification stuff.
My favorite card combo: Ruthless Strategist.
Oh, mean.
Ruthless Strategist, Y-Wings, and Ordnance Pods on an MC-75 is one of my favorite things to run.
So let's see. You guys still planning filming your after-action report? Final thoughts for your Return to the Rim campaign? Yes. We were going to do it, but new rules for 1.5 were coming out. We wanted to really take a look at what changes occurred in 1.5 and how is that going to impact our house-ruled campaigns, our campaign house rules. So we're going to be looking at that, and then we're going to go ahead and state this is what we thought of the campaign. That part isn't going to change, but in terms of how we're going to change house rules, we're going to want to present that so that it works within 1.5. So it's coming. We're probably going to be recording it within the next week, I think, maybe 2, and then that'll be out probably before the end of the year, but maybe right after. So, but that is coming.
Classic FFG soon.
Yeah, with the little trademark logo at the end of it. Since we just saw all the upgrade cards reviewed, some upgraded, would you like to see any ship or squadron cards changed? I'd like to see all the Clone Wars stuff with the tarot size cards, but that's me.
So, ready to go down the rabbit hole? I think almost everything needs to be recosted.
Victories.
No, specifically because you talked about squadrons. I think most squadrons. I think that the ace limit's good. I don't know if it went far enough. Aces are just way better. Like, what? Is it Valen Rudor? He costs 13 points. 13 points, and I can't target you if there's another fighter near you. And
Should
you're
be a
like,
little bit more.
you have a scatter and a brace, and a normal TIE fighter is only 8 points, so for like 5 extra points, you get all of those things. I think aces should be significantly higher, or generic should be less. That's my opinion. But again, Armada 1.7364.
So game mode that Bradley Stevens is suggesting is creating the worst fleet you can and then giving it to the other person to fly.
We've actually thought about that.
We
just
have
haven't
thought
gotten
about
around to that.
Because I can think of some really crappy fleets that are useless, and then John will find a way to make them work. And then he'll give me something.
Because it would be jank. It
Yeah,
would be great.
That's the problem with that, where John will intentionally design something that does not work at all with anything, and then
You would also have to have rules in place,
Yeah.
so you can't like fill 6 points or whatever Ruthless Strategist is when you don't have squadrons. So it would have to be like a balancing point of here's the minimum requirements that you're required to put into the list, and every card has to be functional.
maybe give John an Onager that he hates using, but no super weapons.
I think every time I've used an Onager, I've lost.
Yeah, I think you might. No, I think you won. Did you only fly the Onager the one time?
Was it when I played the double?
Yeah, I think I won that one, didn't I?
Yeah.
So that's why he hates it. 'Cause I
It came
won.
in on the very last roll. I think I needed to roll 1 more damage than we would have mutually tabled.
Yeah.
And then I would have won by default because I was second player.
And there were a couple other
I don't like that.
there were a couple other games where I realized that had I done this one little snippet differently, I would have taken out your Starhawk. This is back in like episode 8, 9, 10. Where today I would have probably won those games. Then
The one when your victory almost killed my Starhawk?
Oh, that was great. That was absolutely great. I think I was running Tarkin that time too, wasn't I? Tarkin's
Maybe.
the best.
Sloan.
Okay, Sloan. Tarkin.
Sloan Thrawn.
Tarkin.
Sloan Thrawn, Jar Jarrod, and Mahdi.
Tarkin's higher up.
Ramadi.
I'm gonna figure out. I'm gonna win a tournament with Tarkin. I have to do that now just to prove my point.
I don't think Tarkin has ever won. I think when tournaments started, the other commanders were in. I think it was Mahdi list. That was the only other Imperial list that really won a
actually
major.
did well. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Do we have any pets? Yes. Don't want them on the table. You don't have any though. No. Let's see. That kind of hits the end of our chat here.
Cool.
So
Let's see if there's anything. What else do we want to talk about? So finally, all of our Clone Wars stuff. I'm actually still unpacking all of it.
yeah.
It's covering our game table in my basement, so I have a lot of sleeving and cardboard to do stuff with. So what's nice about that, though, is now we're not limited in... I did this for the channel, so we're not limited in what our fleets can be. That's why I buy so much Armada. That's why I had so much Armada before we even started the channel. It was just planning ahead without knowing it that we were going to do this. Ugh. So...
He has a lot more than I've got, folks. A lot more. I may be able to beat him on some total of miniature games, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Armada, I have a lot.
you have a lot. That's
So now we won't be limited in our fleet building. So I'm very interested in like the new year when we start recording again. At some point, we're gonna have to move away from just the Clone Wars factions and move into the other factions. So I'm curious of how that's gonna go.
Is there any games you guys would like to play on the channel, but think it wouldn't do well? Well, we already mentioned like Twilight Imperium and whatnot.
Yes, there are a couple of games I would like to, just for fun, even though the Star Trek Attack Wing, I own a ton of it, but I don't think that game is popular enough to do well on the channel. And then I also own an ungodly amount of the clicky Mech Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot
Dark
of
Age,
it.
I think
Dark
it is, yeah.
Ages. Yeah, I have a lot of that, but I don't think that's going to do well either.
There's probably a handful of games that would just do horrible in terms of just even
Filming.
wanting the filming it. Like we could do historical miniatures as an example. Would you guys really enjoy that?
How many, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, how many historical miniature channels are there?
I don't know. That's a good question. I got a lot of that though too. I don't know. There's probably some. Just haven't looked out for them.
A lot of it comes down to filming, and while we have what we do down, like if we were to move over to like more of a card game, we would need actual setups and things like that to do it properly, and yeah, that would be a completely different style of recording, different type of gameplay that we'd have to go into with that.
We'd have to play the game a couple times, figure out filming angles and everything else. I think one of the things that was an advantage for us with Armada, we kind of knew how the game, we knew how the game really played out, and we were able to more or less think up in our head how do we want to show it. And we even had to make a change when we started adding the dice cam, because then the filming angle had to change a little bit so that we could fit the dice into the screen.
Yeah, because what is it? If you go back and watch our early videos, which you can see, if you go watch episode 1 to our last episode, the quality has really changed.
Yeah.
But at the time, we were in my apartment, and we would play the activation, stop, and then we had an entire different dice cam set up in another room, and then we would roll our damage, and we would like bring our tokens over here and then flip cards and then bring it back, and it was a mess because we would miss things all the time.
Right. So now we've got 3-4 cameras depending on what we're playing. We've got tons of light. We've changed a lot of things, just again improve filming quality and everything else.
But it worked well in our heads until we actually tried it.
And we even have some more changes specifically to Armada. We're going to be putting together a new dice tray at some point that will actually put the defense tokens back into the dice rolling so that you guys can see that. Not only would that help us, it helps you guys. It tells the story better. So everything we want to do has to focus on how can we tell the story of the game better. Yes, the Clone Wars stuff is a tarot side on various different Reddits and whatnot. I kind of want to play with them myself, do a little Photoshop magic and get them a little bit cleaner. They're really good though, what you can find. Personal preference though. Let's see. Memoir 44 qualify as a historical miniature game. Well, there's no miniatures in. Well, yeah, there are.
Yeah, there are.
There are miniatures in Memoir 44. I guess it would. So, yeah, and I do have Memoir 44.
I don't know if I've ever played Memoir.
It's an interesting game.
That's the one that it's very command card driven, right? So it's like the mechanic kind of that you play Queen's Gambit on the battle board.
So I've never played Queen's Gambit. Yeah, I know.
Oh my god!
I want to get it. I'm willing to spend the money to get it, but I got to find a copy. And
You know, that's what we should do.
Queen's Gambit.
Queen's Gambit.
Do you have Queen's Gambit?
I do not own Queen's Gambit.
I have a friend that does have Queen's Gambit, so maybe we'll have a guest star on the show for that. But yeah, with Memoir 44, it's you've got your cards in front of you. You have to choose which one you use, and they control different zones on the board, and you can move your troops and everything else based on that.
Yeah.
Tried teaching the cat to play He Cheats. I've got an Instagram video. You see the cat cheating playing BattleTech. And somewhere I have a video of him trying to teach him to play Armada, and he would just turn around, and when I wasn't looking, his tail would kick a TIE Defender closer to where it needed to be. So don't play Armada with your cats. So that's my thought on that. With historical war games, I mean, you could be looking at things like Bolt Action, Victory at Sea. You got Flames of War and thousands of different ones. And you've got other sci-fi games that you could play. You've got Starfire, you've got 5150, you've got Starfleet Battles, which is one of my personal favorites. I've been playing that for a long time. Probably almost as long as John's been alive. There's a little bit of an age gap between us. Let's see, what else? Those are the ones that are coming to me off the top of my head. But, you know, those could fall into historical wargaming and what. Well, Starfleet Battles wouldn't, but, you know, if you're in the sci-fi realm.
Yeah.
So let's see, we are hovering pretty close to that hour 45. I don't know that I got really much else
Okay.
that I could bring up. Although stay tuned, because we've got more stuff coming.
Yeah. So we'll talk about what's coming up on the channel, and you guys hit us up with some last questions, and then we're probably going to wrap up the stream. So what we have planning coming up, we have a couple BattleTech videos that we're going to be releasing, and then we're going to be into that campaign for BattleTech. That's on our BattleTech front. We're trying to focus on clan versus inner sphere, even though we have a couple clan versus clan. And then after that campaign, we'll probably just focus on specific battles that we want to do inside the BattleTech universe. We think that would be probably the easiest thing to do as like just a one-off, like Clan Wolf versus Dracus Combine or something like that.
I kind of almost want to see a few of the Tukayad battles as well. There's a whole new book that came out with the Kickstarter. Some of those look like they'd be a lot of fun to try out, so we'll have to investigate that. As we already mentioned, we are going to complete the full Somerset series, and that I think is going to wind up rounding out at about 10 episodes.
Yeah, so that's going to be over the course of the whole year.
Yeah.
And then Armada content, we're going to continue doing Armada. Right now, we're going to just focus on doing one-off episodes and push a campaign if we do a campaign later on to the midpoint of the year. Hopefully there's more Clone Wars that are out then, and then we can evaluate if we want to do a Clone Wars faction campaign or continue in the Galactic Civil War. So that's going to be on a little bit of a pause, but we're planning on keeping up our Armada battles continually coming out.
So yeah, we'll continue to have Armada because that's our flagship product. If we do another campaign, one of the thoughts we had was rather than custom commanders, actually bringing in the actual commanders into Rebellion in the Rim. see how that changes things up. We'll have to probably come up with another series of custom rules for that.
Yeah, and then like Ken was mentioning earlier in the stream, we're waiting for the new release of rules and ships for Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, so that. Unfortunately, we're in this weird waiting period, right? So it's holding up Battlestar. In terms of BattleTech and Alpha Strike, we're trying to figure out some of the Zellbriggen rules. And then, of course, just because Clone Wars came out, our focus had to change to really focus in on Armada. But now that we've got, a couple weeks, actually I think we're a month or so ahead, we can start concentrating on that again. And then, with Armada, it's Armada. It's learning the new factions and everything else. Let's see. What are your guys' thoughts on the second Clone Wars wave? We need to see what actually comes out with it. We're excited for it. We're probably going to see 2 new commanders for each side. So, because you got 4 ships. So, historically speaking, you get commander per ship. So we're going to see what we get there. Maybe we'll see a new squadron pack. Who knows? But that'd probably be like a 3rd wave of Clone Wars Armada. Is the Rebel Assault Frigate a worthwhile ship?
Yes. But no. I haven't really played a lot of it since the 1.5 rules. I think the 1.5 rules are going to help the ship because it has the evade. And it's a medium base, so it's more survival against the things that are good at killing it, which are large ships. Where it's going to hurt is it probably won't be using ECM. It might need to be doing something else because it kind of really needs to navigate. I think it would be a good ship to put on... can you put the card that gives you the ability to salvo on it? I don't remember.
Local fire control.
Hold on, we're going to look up a card real fast. I don't have all the new cards memorized.
Oh, from the Clone Wars set?
Yeah.
Let's see, and you want to put this on the Republic for... okay, I know what it is. I can see the card in my mind's eye, but that doesn't help. It is an offensive upgrade, I think, right? Maybe not. Reactive gunnery. Right?
Yes, so it's a defensive slot. So yeah, you could put that on it, and I think it might actually make it interesting because it has a decently beefy rear arc.
It's got 3 dice.
Three
rear.
dice, and it's 2 red, so you're looking at the same efficiency that the Munificent has for that. And you can then also put LTT on it. Mm-hmm. And I think that will be a fun way how to play it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I think it's a good ship. It's fun. You get Garm, Bella Bliss with it, so that's cool. Mm-hmm. I'm actually rereading the original Thrawn trilogy. It's my 2nd read through, and I'm almost done with the 2nd book. It's a great series of books. If you haven't already read them, I strongly recommend reading the original Thrawn trilogies. That's Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command. They're released back in the early 90s. Outstanding books.
That's my favorite Star Wars book series.
What is funny is going through it, there's little nods to what, at the time, Timothy Zahn was suggesting would be the Star Wars history. And one of the things that I just came across was that Darth Vader lost his right hand after the Death Star was destroyed because the Emperor got mad and instead of killing him, just chopped his hand off. Which now we know that in Episode 2 his arm got cut off. So, I mean, it's funny little stuff like that.
I mean, he also... the clones attacked the Republic in that.
Yeah.
The clones,
the clones went crazy and everything else. Yeah. So the whole Clone Wars, the Sparty cylinders and everything else. Great read nonetheless. Unfortunately, not really useful, but I'm seeing little hints of it in The Mandalorian. But anyways, I digress. Let's see, what else do we have coming through? Nothing new. But I am going to say thank you very much for everyone that's participated. And that's watching. And we really appreciate all the support and love you guys have given us over the last 12 months, 14 months that we've been on the air. And, I mean, hitting 1,000 subscribers is something I don't think we ever figured we would
I never thought
do.
we would actually hit this much.
No, and again, this was something we decided to do for fun, and it's just kind of taken off. And we're really thankful for everything you guys have done. So please, by all means, join us on our Discord. We've got tons of weird and good conversations going there. We have a wonderful community, a lot of people willing to help, especially the new players for Armada and everything else. A lot of good people in there. We have some new videos coming out. We've reached out to one person in particular. We're not going to say anything more than that, because that's still in planning. We may have 1 or 2 episodes with someone that could be fun. And that is on the Armada side, but that's all I'm going to say. We have more regular episodes slated to come out for Armada. We are in planning for Battlestar. We have some episodes of BattleTech and Alpha Strike that are in post that'll be coming out very, very soon. Let's see what else. Join us on Facebook. Check our stuff out on Instagram. We were initially going to put some of what we painted today out there. We'll get a lot of primed stuff, maybe, we'll put out there. We'll be painting a few things. We'll throw some stuff up for you guys. And I think that's...
So thank you for all your support, and continue to like and subscribe, and you can find us on our social media.
All right, so I'm Ken.
I'm John.
And you've been watching Ion Radio.